Who did you go to high school with that ended up becoming famous and what were they like? I went to school with Heath Ledger, the sister school to his all-boys school. My first kiss and first boyfriend was really close with him and we hung out a lot. He was sweet, but knew he was handsome, so had an air of arrogance. He could pick up any girl. He was serious about acting. From about 14-15 he did daggy local kid shows, which took him to Hollywood. I still have a letter from him for a birthday, and a picture he drew me. I wish it had worked out better for him. I was friends with Crispin Glover from the ages of 14-18. We lost touch when I went away to college and his acting career took off. He was a very strange, in a good way, interesting and artistic kid. My old roommate went to school with Selena Gomez. She deleted him on Facebook. Maybe it was the Beats' orders to delete him. Went to high school with Vixen Steele, pornster. She was an emo chick. She had a squealy voice and no one really cared for her. Got a nose job. Bob job, terrible one. Moved to LA. Married a rockstar and had a baby. Wonder if she still squeals in her videos when getting blowed. Yes. Lance Armstrong went to the same high school that I did. My grandmother worked there and said he was a little shit and his mother was one of those my child can do no wrong people. She said he was in trouble all the time. That holds true to this day. I was in jail with the meth head kid from Deadliest Catch. Ivanka Trump was 2 years ahead of me. She was very involved in clubs and activities. Did well in school. And was overall kind. It was an all-girls school, so we were all itchy to at least a handful of other students at some point. I went to high school with an Olympian that is moderately famous. Part of his persona is how much he's a good Christian with all-American morals. In high school and uni, he basically ducked every girl he came across. And cheated on every single girl he was in a relationship with. I went to high school with Tyler Joseph, lead singer of 21 Pilots. In school, he was an amazing basketball player. Him and his brother Zach were known statewide. He comes from a great family. To be honest, as charismatic as he is, Tyler was relatively quiet back in those days. Then, once his rise to fame happened, he seemed to just be a little more arrogant. But hey, corruption is a mean disease. And he's still not a bad guy. I still have his HS basketball jersey. Wonder if I could sell it for hella $. I think I've mentioned this before, but I went to high school and was good friends with Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg in the Justice League movies. We hung out a lot our senior year and several years through college. He played a lot of pranks on our statistics teacher. All that enthusiasm he has in interviews and stuff is so real. He's a great guy. Really down to earth. And worked incredibly hard to get where he is. I haven't seen him since he got the role. But his best friends from high school are still some of his best friends and he hangs out with them all the time. Not super famous yet, but definitely the talk of the town. A kid I went to school with made it to the NFL. We talked from time to time but weren't great friends or anything. We played basketball together. I didn't have many friends on the team. On a dinner stop from an away game he went out of his way to include me and make sure I had someone to eat with. It didn't seem too big of a gesture at the time, but it left an impression on me. He's a great guy and if anyone deserves the success it's him. What's his name? I am a pretty big football fan and may have heard of him. Dexter McCluster went to my rival high school and pretty sure he broke the county rushing record against with like 296 yards rushing. Luke Rhodes. I graduated high school with Kelly Clarkson. She was super sweet. I always loved watching her in the show choir performances and the talent show. She had a solo part in the Christmas concert that brought me to tears. I saw her in concert a few years back and she just seems like such a kind and genuine person. She doesn't seem like she's super concerned with fitting a certain Hollywood image, which is refreshing. My cousin went to school with Wiz Khalifa in junior high. He said they made fun of him because he was always walking around rapping and sucked at basketball. I can just picture him in Steelers gear rapping black and yellow and people making fun of him. Not so funny meow though, as he is quite the talent. Old co-worker used to go to high school with Mia Khalifa. Said he didn't remember a thing about her. But now he wishes he'd have asked her out. I bet she is gorgeous. I mean, there was a joke about somebody threatening to cut her breasts off and she said something like, "Cut my head off instead." I paid a lot for these. But I think she was just the late bloomer nerd. Seeing as he couldn't remember anything about her. My grandma went to high school with Frank Sinatra and even dated him for a short period of time. Woohoo. I went to high school with a duck face who shot a bunch of people at my high school. I don't know if he really counts as famous, but I remember him as being a piece of shit. Thanks for not mentioning his name. He'd want you to. So I appreciate that you don't give that to him. Out of curiosity, and since not many school shooters survive, was he the edgy piece of shit that appeared at his sentencing with a white t-shirt with Krilla scrawled on it? I often wonder if that guy was still so hard after going to full-on adult pound me in the ears prison. I didn't know either of them very well. Just in passing, but Anna Kendrick went to my high school while I was going there, and so did Baltimore Orioles if utility player Ryan Flaherty. I have a friend that was best friends with Kylie Jenner. Until Kylie became mainstream and became a dick. What was she like before? She's been famous since she was a kid thanks to the show. But it only recently got to her head. She was more a casual teen before. I went to school with and was best friends with Taylor Lautner. I will say he was a natural athlete. Tons of trophies at his house. His family was really nice and he was a great little league teammate and he was really nice. We kept in touch until a little after he shot the second Twilight movie. The stardom started going to his head. I met someone who said they knew him or played against him in Little League. They said he was always picking the grass and dandelions in the outfield and never paid attention, haha, probably when he was younger. Went to school with Tyler the Creator. He was in my theater class for like 2 weeks then disappeared. Went to boarding school with the girl who became Lana Del Rey. She was into singing herself and men over boys. She did ask me why my English is so good. First generation American Chinese. Which was shockingly ignorant. But otherwise kept to herself and a few close friends. I went to high school with Emily Ratajkowski. She had the personality of a wet napkin. Probably a little late to the party but felt like I should contribute. My dad went to middle high school with Quentin Tarantino in the 70s. Said he was bullied like crazy and everyone called him the Chin. Even the teachers. Ended up dropping out when he was 16, I think. Graduated high school with Post Malone. He was a really nice guy. Very goofy and got along with just about anyone. He played drums, I believe. Didn't start rapping until after high school, from what I know. His appearance drastically changed. But supposedly he's still a cool dude. Please tell me you have a yearbook picture of Post. You will literally become a pop culture hero. My older brother went to high school with Brad Pitt. He's from our hometown. His parents and brother still live there. Brother said he doesn't remember much about him. Pretty unassuming guy. Was quiet in class. Didn't draw much attention to himself. Logan Paul went to my high school but he graduated before I was a freshman. Everyone says that he was an okay guy but his brother Jake Paul is a jerk and only got famous by riding off of his coattails. The assignment was famous person. And they count as famous. Welcome to the modern age where the internet makes people famous. Leonardo DiCaprio and I were in the same grade at Marshall High School in Los Angeles. He attended until partway through senior year. He was already starting to become famous, busy in Hollywood at that time, growing pains. For example, so he didn't seem to attend school full time. Didn't really interact with him. But since he hung around with the drama theater workshop kids and I was in the broadcast journalism TV production group, we had many friends and acquaintances in common. Including one of his girlfriends and that girl's best friend. who'd tell me of times they'd go out with a group and there'd be this obnoxious friend of his named Toby. It wasn't until much later on that I learned that Toby's last name was Maguire. I went to school with Eric Warahim from Tim and Eric. Nice enough guy. Ran in a lot of the same circles and had the same friends. Couldn't say I've spoken to him more than once since high school. I went to school with Amy Johnson. She was a little mousy girl. Quiet. Into gymnastics. A little preppy. And straight-edged. The OG pink Power Ranger. Right. Yes, and it's so weird when people talk about how hot she is because she wasn't really one of the hot girls in school. Probably a late bloomer. Went to school with Aaron Paul for Breaking Bad. We weren't in the same year and I mostly knew him by association with other people. But he seemed like a pretty intense theater kid. Not too many people from Idaho make it big like that. So it's nice to see some representation. Salma Hayek went to my school as a boarding student years before me. She got expelled though. Lol, for what? Basically just being a prankster. It was in a girls' Catholic school complete with nuns. Jenna Marbles was a year ahead of me. We rode the same bus. She was well liked. Super funny. Never wore any makeup and very sporty. That's super cool. Did you ever talk to her? She seems super chill honestly. Like one of the only YouTubers I can die laughing from. My gram went to school with Charles Bronson. Not sure if anyone on here even knows who he was. I forgot to add my grandfather went to school with Jimmy Stewart, actor, It's a Wonderful Life, Rear Window, and more. Went to school with Seth MacFarlane. Dude was funny AF.